Welcome, everyone. I'm Brittany Brown, founder over at beatingbingeeating.com, leader of the Food Freedom Forever Mastermind and Movement. We have an incredible food freedom fighter with us today. This is Miss Olivia Green. She's incredible. She actually graduated our Beating Binge Eating Blueprint program about 8 or 9 months ago. And we are going to really just dive into her journey. We're going to talk about what she learned, some steps she used to break free, because Olivia went from, a really strong focus kind of on her body and her health, being an athlete when she was younger, to going to school, to having more pressure, like different changes, lifestyle changes, school pressure, society pressure, and was able to move through that while breaking free from her binge eating and stay on this path of food freedom. So I know you're going to learn so much in this interview today. And Olivia, welcome. Thank you so much for being here.
Thanks. Yeah. Hi.
Hey. So let's just start off. I'd love to just talk a little bit about kind of where you were before, coming into the program, like that scary place where you're having all this stuff go on, you're debating whether you're going to jump on the call or not. Kind of like what was life like before compared to what is life like now?
Cool. Yeah. So basically, I guess I started on this whole journey of trying to eat healthier, trying to lose weight, when I was maybe a junior in high school. And all throughout junior and senior year, I felt good. I was losing weight. But my food slowly became more and more restrictive. And then I was more and more focused on losing weight and restricting my food. And I had all these rules, I wouldn't eat food past 5 p.m. I wouldn't eat oil on my food. So all these things, they were starting to really get in the way of social interactions and going out to dinner with friends and family. But then when I got to college, that's when it kind of got to the worst point.
Mm-hmm.
Because it was really intimidating, because in high school, the academics were a lot easier, and I had a better time balancing everything. I had really strong friends to rely on. And then I got to college and I was what do I do? I didn't have any of my friends that I really liked, and I didn't really find that circle. So I basically kind of just really dove into making my whole identity based on exercising all the time and eating really clean, being vegan, being raw vegan. So I was kind of everything was just based on that. And eventually the weight kept going down and down, and I would get happy based on that. And everything else, I didn't have a love life. I didn't have a social life really. I would just study, and then that was pretty much it. I mean, I would exercise and study. So I don't know. It was just I got to a point where I was just feeling my emotions weren't even coming out. I wasn't even, I felt I couldn't cry and I couldn't be sad, even though I was feeling really stuck in this whole new college thing. But when I would go home, I would just all these emotions would just come flooding in, and I kind of knew that something was really wrong with this whole restrictive thing. And that's when I started really struggling with binge eating, after I tried to start not having that. I started to eat more because I needed to eat more, because I was getting to a point where I'd restrict so much that I was at a really low weight.
Mm-hmm.
So then, I had that whole struggle with binge eating and then trying to restrict from it. And while I was really trying to be more integrated into the college thing, that kind of isolated me even more. So it was that was probably the darkest place that I was at. And even though I was at the lightest weight, and I thought before that if I would get to that weight, everything would just be great and I would feel so happy. But then fast forward till now, when now I'm, I weigh more, but I'm so much happier. Basically I have a social life now. Like my friendships are so much better. Like my whole life, I can't explain how much happier I am now. Like before it would be like I would wake up, I would roll out of bed and like exercise for way too long, and then I would be rushing to classes. I would be so stressed out. And now it's like I wake up, maybe I exercise, but maybe I don't exercise. And then like I just have like this great breakfast, and like I talk to my roommates, we put on our makeup together, and we like laugh, and we like listen to podcasts, and like just everything is so much greater. And I just like my life is so much more well-rounded, and my focus isn't on food and on my body and on how much exercise I can do. Like I remember kind of like thinking about like the future and like thinking about how I was gonna have to like restrict my food for like the rest of my life. And I was like, oh my gosh, like this is gonna be so difficult. And I was like, can I even study abroad? Like, because if I study abroad, like I won't be able to control my food. And now I can't even believe that I thought that. And I'm like,
Yeah.
and I'm so excited to like travel and like do everything I have like left in my life. And yeah, I just can't believe how much more there like is in my life now after I escaped that whole struggle.
Yeah. Oh, that just like melts my heart. I love it. And yeah, you have your whole life ahead of you to just live fully without the struggle holding you back. So that makes me so happy. Okay, I have so many things to ask you. Let's see where to start. So, one thing I want to highlight that I think was really cool. Okay, I'm going to wait to highlight this thing. I want to talk about the competition that you did, and like the different energy that you took to it. Because I think that's really, really cool. But I'm going to wait a second. I'd love to just know, like, because I think this question will kind of help you with that one. Your takeaway on your journey. Like, I know you had so many. And so just so everyone knows, we worked with Olivia closely, like intensely in our 8-week immersion. And then she graduated and she was with us in an ongoing support program. So I have seen Olivia like go to school and meet friends and, go back and visit her family and just navigate through life, like slowly peeling back the layers to who she really is, and just like watched her. I just asked her if she graduated college because I feel like she's grown so much in this time span that I've known her. I feel like she's beyond college at this point. So yeah, Olivia, so I know you've had a ton of takeaways, but if you could boil it down to like one or two big aha moments that anyone listening could kind of take those and apply those to their life, what do you think your big ones are?
I think like my main realization is that people, like my worth isn't defined by how I look. And like the way I can like present myself to the world has nothing to do with how I actually look. Like just being like, I have this whole like new positive energy where I'm so much more optimistic. And like when I interact with people, like I feel like I want them to like leave the interaction feeling better than they did when they started. So like just the whole idea that like I have the power to like be happy and make other people happy regardless of how I look, and that people don't even care how I look. Like they just care if I'm energetic and happy or whatever emotion I have, but like just that like I'm being like authentic and I'm being there. And I realized that like people don't really care about your appearance as much as I thought they did.
Yeah, that's such a big one. I had the same things come up, like high school, especially being an athlete, loving sports, really trying to like make my body look a certain way. I did the same thing, put all my worth and my looks and how I presented myself to the world. And really, just like you said, you can present yourself in so many ways, regardless of looks or size or whatever that is. So I love that lesson. It's really, really powerful one. And one thing I'll bring it in now. So Olivia had the opportunity to do this. What would you call it? Like a bodybuilding, not a bodybuilding competition because it wasn't bodybuilding, but was it like a fitness type competition?
Yeah, it was like a show. It was like
A show.
10, but it was like bodybuilding-ish type thing. Like we put like the fake tanner on and
That's awesome. So everyone knows that those shows can be super restrictive. People are depleting their water, depleting their carbs, like cutting all this out. And so Olivia and I had a conversation on like, hey, is this going to be beneficial post freedom for you to kind of go into this world with all this pressure on appearance. And you decided, Olivia, like intuitively, that you felt that you could bring this newfound joy and freedom into this experience. And you actually did the competition without restrictive dieting, right? So how did that feel? Like, how did it feel to go on stage just as you? And yeah, I guess you probably took some of that big perspective shift into that moment, right?
Yeah, it was really fun because like this time I wasn't worrying about like, like my food as much. I was just like kind of like living my life, and then I just did it. And like I thought it was so fun because I really like we had like a little dance routine, so I like choreographed the whole dance routine. It was almost like a really fun way to treat myself because I like went and got like a new bathing suit, and I like did my nails, and like it was just like a really fun thing. And I ended up making like a few new friends. Like we all like practiced our routines together and then got ready together. And I also thought it was really cool because the person who runs it, he like gives this whole talk to like everyone, and he's like, like you got to do this restrictive diet and like all this stuff. And I eventually talked to him and told him that like, like I had this struggle and I wasn't going to do any of the like dieting or the restriction. Um, and it was really great because he was super like open and like, oh, that's totally great. And then it was really interesting because he's like a 70-year-old man, and he had been like coaching track and field for a long time. And he said that he had the exact same struggles his whole life, like with food and that type of thing, with like binge eating. And so he kind of like told me his story and said that he like understood. And
Wow.
it was just like a really great, thing, like to be able to share with him and to have him understand. And like it was really nice. Yeah. And then when I did the competition, like being on stage, it was actually really fun. And like I was proud of like my muscles and everything, even if they weren't like exactly like perfect as, like professional whatever. But I was just like really proud of like my own self. And yeah, so I had a really good time.
That's so awesome. You have so much to celebrate yourself for. You've just like come so far. I love that. And I love that you got to connect with him in that way. And it just goes to show you that, I keep seeing all these posts and things on Facebook with the holidays, right? About like, it's not a diet, it's a lifestyle change. That man probably even kind of touts his way of eating as like this lifestyle change that you have to stick with. And it just goes to show you that even if someone on the surface seems like they really have it together in that department, that restrictive dieting typically doesn't work for anyone, male, female. And, even if they're not binging, let's say, there's still something going on. There's still usually that on track, off track, and that really restrictive mentality. And like, at the end of the day, who really wants to live that strict with their eating? So, I mean, it's great that you had that connection and maybe even opened his eyes a little to like how his language and stuff is impacting the younger generation. So yeah, I'm so proud of you for having the courage to do that too. That's really, really, really incredible. So, okay. So, with your journey with us, I know you just stuck it out, and you did so many things, but you really kept showing up. You came to the calls, whether they were the monthly calls in the follow-up program or the biweekly calls. Like, you showed up, you let us know what you were struggling with, you celebrated yourself, you got what you needed, and then you went and applied, even in the face of college transition and friends and all these different things you had going on. So I'm just curious, what was kind of like the one mindset or perspective that you took into the work with us and just your healing journey in general that allowed you to really have success and kind of stick it out?
I think I was like mainly like I thought like I like invested myself in this thing, and like I made a commitment to myself to like, you know, get the freedom, and I really just wanted to like do everything I could to get there and like use everything I could to get there. So I think that's like what I wanted to do. Like I just wanted to like commit to it, and I was like, I know that like you and like everyone else knew exactly how to like make this work for people. So I was like, if I can just do, if I can just try my best and like show up and like do what I have to do, then it has to work. So I was just like, I just had this like blind faith that it would work, and I mean it did. So that was good.
That's so awesome. I think that's a really big takeaway is the blind faith. And I know it's asking a lot of you when you just come in and you're meeting us for the first time, but the system works, we're here for you, like no matter what. And I find that the women who do the most successful are the ones like, cause you had your fears too, you feared weight gain, like there were so many different things that came up for you and everyone. And it just takes that like one foot in front of the other. Like, you know what, I don't even know what I'm doing right now, but I'm going to keep going with this process and keep showing up and practicing. And and you get these really, really incredible results. So yeah, I love it. So, kind of piggybacking off of that, say someone just started in the program, or even if someone's not in our program and they're just like on their healing journey, and you kind of like had a chance to sit down with them and just let them know a thing or two about the journey, maybe like give them a bit of advice or something like that. What would kind of be your piece of advice for anyone either in our program or just on their path of healing?
I would say like, even if you're like skeptical of some part of like the journey to like freedom, I would say like if you're scared of like letting yourself like eat breakfast or letting yourself not restrict your food, like I think one of the things that held me back as first was I was like scared of that in the short term. But I think like what really changed my mind is when I remembered that like 8 weeks or like 6 months or however long it takes is like such a short time period when you think of like the whole rest of your life that you can spend happy and free and everything like that. So I think like you just have to like try your best to like picture like the long term and how happy you can be in the long term, even if like in the short term it's like a little bit hard in the moment, to like let go. So I think that's what really changed my mind when I kind of like stepped back and looked at how much this could make me happy in the long run if I just like let this little like hard moment pass by and just like let everything go.
Yeah, I love that. That's such a good takeaway. And just our human nature is really short term, like the instant gratification, the fears that, especially around weight, they feel so real and paralyzing when your whole identity has been wrapped up in weight. And so, just that like idea of letting go, and, you're not letting go and gaining a ton of weight or anything like that. It's just like really letting go to the process and trusting the process and really fully surrendering it to it and giving yourself that chance to like let the healing and let the freedom kind of happen. And it does happen and it shifts over time and it's really accumulative. So yeah, thank you for that. Gosh, there's so many other things I could ask. I would love to ask, I know, how it feels pre jumping in with us, because there's a lot of women that'll watch this interview that they've never been on a call with us. They've never even like thought about working with us, right? They are just kind of like searching the internet, looking for answers. Like they just binge last night and they're waking up in that foggy place and don't know what to do. And so, like if anyone's just kind of landing on our work for the first time or just out there looking on the web for a solution, do you have anything to say to kind of those people to maybe reassure them on where they're at, or maybe a little tip of information in regards to our program? Yeah, anything like that.
Yeah, because like that was exactly me. So like definitely. I think like the main thing is when I would be, like searching those things like the day after I would binge, I would like read all these things. And like the main thing going through my head was like, okay, like this person says this, but I'm like, but do they really get it? Like, do they really get how I feel? Like, no one gets how I feel. Like I feel alone. Like these people writing this article are probably just these like skinny people who just have had it easy their whole lives, have never struggled with this. So I think like the main thing was like when I saw like you and when I like got on the call with you and with Stella, I was so relieved because I realized that like you guys are like super happy now and super successful and like you have like this food freedom, but you've understood the struggle and you've gone through everything that like a person who's searching it might have gone through. So it's like you actually understand and like you actually have been through it, and that's what really made me like feel relieved and feel comforted, like when I went on the call and then going through the whole program. So.
Yeah. I think it's important to like, I don't know how someone could teach someone about separating from an urge to binge if they don't know what an urge to binge feels like. Like if you don't know what that anxiety in your chest and in your body, and like nothing feels like it's going to satisfy that thing but the food, right? And if you haven't experienced that, I remember going to therapists or things like that and sitting down with them and they're like, tell me how you feel before the binge comes on. I'm like, I don't feel anything. I just feel this anxiety and it's not going away until I eat, and I don't know how to explain it. And anyway, yeah, I'm just saying I'm with you. I think it's important to have people that understand. And I think our community too is really special in that too. And I think that's another thing is like for everyone listening, you're in our program or whatever, Olivia you really did. You poured yourself into the community for getting what you needed, and then also contribution and cheering others on. And you're just like really, really involved in your process. And I think it really shows in your results because you just like really brought it into your experience. And then I think you also did a really good job of living your life too. You weren't just like only focused on food. If anything, you like showed up for the group and then you went out and took the information and lived your life, which I think is really incredible.
Yeah. Yeah. I remember like the very first call we had in the program, I got on the call and like the first like 6 questions that all the women asked, I was like, oh my God, this is me. Like, I can't believe that someone gets it and that someone's like asking this question. And I think I called my mom afterwards and I was like, thank you so much. Like, you have no idea how happy this makes me and how much better and how much more relieved I feel like after knowing that like I'm not alone and these people are like here for me. And yeah, so it was like a really great feeling.
Cool. Yeah, I'm so happy. Well, Olivia, I am so proud of you. Thank you for taking the time out of your day to do this interview. I think it's going to inspire so many people. We actually haven't had an interview yet that was as connected to kind of like the self-worth and the like, not putting all your worth in your weight. And those are such big takeaways because no matter if someone's struggling with binge eating, yo-yo weight loss and gain, a normal overeating every now and then, being sad about fitting into their dress for the Christmas party, no matter what it is, I feel like for most women on the planet, there is some type of self-worth wrapped into appearance, right? And that is really what's at the root of so much of this struggle. And so I love that contribution of yours. I think this is going to inspire so many and just remind people to keep the faith and keep kind of betting on themselves and showing up for themselves. So thank you. And I'm so, so, so proud of you. I am. I tell you that all the time. But yeah, this is awesome. I so appreciate you doing this.
Oh, thanks.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. This was really cool. Like, it was really fun to like reflect back and like look at everything like from then to now.
And how far you've come, and later too, it's not like you just had this freedom and we're getting on the phone right when you're like on the freedom high. You've like implemented this freedom into your life, which I think is so, so important. So yeah, it's just incredible. So incredible. And I'm glad it's so cool to like just talk to you and, just see how far I know how far you've come because I've seen it, but it's just nice to like really have this conversation. So yeah, so thank you so much.
Well, yeah, thank you.
Awesome. All right. So we're going to sign off, everyone. Just wanted to say thank you everyone for watching this. And if anyone does want information, if you're on this video on YouTube or things like that, check out the description. There's going to be a link for actually scheduling a call with us or learning more or just getting some free trainings. We have all kinds of goodies for you. And then if you're, on our actual website, there should be an orange button below just to kind of check out more information, watch a free training, and see if you do want to actually explore a little more about our Beating Binge Eating Blueprint. We are totally here for you. And thank you again, Olivia. This is awesome.
Yay, thank you.
Yeah.